Hi, this is the Atreo Podcast for anyone who's listening. Um, this podcast was created by the owner of Atreo, Stoya, and it's meant for information, entertainment, and also to just cover all the things that's been going on with Atreo, that in case you haven't been covered with all of that. Um, let's introduce ourselves. I am Echo. I am a main tank for Team Hostile on Atreo, and I'm also an admin on the server. Um, let's see. I came to know this server, I think, in September of 2017, um, when I wanted to join a team because I've been doing comp a lot. I grinded all the way up to High Masters. I really wanted to be a part of a team and use teamwork because as a main tank, that is probably one of the most important things to do. So that's me. Resistance. How about you introduce yourself next?
All right. Hello, people listening. I am Resistance, also Noel. Um, I'm a moderator of Atreo, and I'm also a off tank for Heartless. I found this server through a friend of mine that I've been friends back on console for over a year. He was like, "Hey, uh, let's join some teams." I was like, "What?" And I just popped in, was put into a pickup game and was offered a spot on the team. So I was like, okay, whatever, I'll try it out. Yeah.
Well,
All
cool.
right.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'm
Okay.
I'm Max
What
Greedo.
about? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. How about Max? You go next.
Yeah. How about I go next? Well, I kind of came here with Noel, except that it was much later because it's hard to get information out of him. The team I joined is no longer with us. I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Sad face.
But
R.I.P.
after many suckies, I think I have made it to a point of where I can safely say I got a nice position in running this podcast. Yeah.
They clapped it up. Easy clap. Easy clap.
All right. Last but not least, Turtles. How about you?
I'm Turtles. I am a moderator and also I help with running our website. I found I found Atreo after Stoya had first created it because we had troubles with some other stuff. So we came here and we started building it, and proud to say we have over 500 members now. So
Wow.
All right. Awesome. All right. So let's start off with some news stuff. So in Overwatch for season 8, there's going to be a new SR system that Jeff Kaplan was talking about, and what they're doing is that for Diamond and up, uh, the for every win you'll gain 25 consistently, and for every loss you'll lose 25 consistently. I believe that's the number. Um, Resistance. How do you feel about that? Having that like
This
consistent 25, 20.
I really do like this new system as a tank player too because um it's no longer based on personal performance, and most things with like most other tank players in the higher ranks, they usually don't play to like actually like make space or protect their allies. They'll just,
Get the
go in
damage.
there, feed, get all the damage. And I don't think it's hard to get gold damage or gold elims as a tank player. It's just staying in there and taking all the heals from your support, just brawling because tanks can obviously output. So yeah, that would lead to like other like not great tank players to be up higher with the ones that are just like constantly just like jumping in there, just trying to kill, kill, kill.
Hmm. I would also like to add that for there was a point in time where some supports, and there was a specific time where Mercy specifically didn't didn't gain that much SR, and it was like something weird in like the system, but she would gain like a max of like 18 points like per win, and she would lose like 30 points for a loss, and it was like a
Yeah.
bug within the system. And
It was also with it wasn't only Mercy, but I think she was more affected just because out of all the support, she doesn't really deal damage. So like a Zen would get out of all supports, he would actually rank up faster because he's more mechanics and he has that lethality of killing and being able to keep up with all those damage medals and elims
right.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, I think
Um,
Mercy had it worse because the damage she does is
is like none.
from some
Non-existent. Yeah.
on someone else.
mhm.
So yeah,
And they're also limiting the SR variance for teams, meaning that um, if one team that is created has an average of, let's say, 3.2k, then the other team will also have an average of 3.2k instead of having that like
That
3.1
offset, yeah.
to 3.3 versus 3.3, you know? Like, because
Yeah,
sometimes there are those weird things.
yeah, where it's like a six stack versus like say like three two stacks, but like they're actually like higher ranks on the the three two stacks would be higher rank players than the actual six stack on the opposing team. So
Mm,
yeah, that and I feel like they do like punish like team play a little harshly. Like you game like a little, and this happened yesterday with my team. We were six stacking with Aura,
Hmm.
and we gained like I think it was one game where we won and it was like really crazy. Devi probably should have gained like freaking 40 SR what he was doing as Genji. Um but we wound up gaining like 5 SR, 10 SR. It was like ridiculous. And then the next game I think we lost and it was like I think it was like high 20, maybe even like 30 SR we lost. And
yeah,
it just doesn't seem right because like they make it seem like solo queue is like they're bad players and then like cis stacks are just supposed to win. I mean like yeah, it is true if you set up a six stack to be like well rounded and to have like everyone playing their best heroes, you should be able to win. But there's a lot more that comes with it versus like so like saying like if a plat were like assist stack of pots were around versus what like high tier diamonds or even like some masters like solo cures. Obviously, that other team would probably like beat those plat players.
of course.
yeah, just because of mechanics alone.
Um,
'Cause
the thing about the 25-25 win-loss thing, I think that might make it easier for people who do boosting or carrying.
Yeah,
What do you feel about that? Turtles, you can
it
start.
it seems like that could be possible, and it would probably have to be a little work tweaked with a little bit because, especially like low diamond, it's not too fantastic to wiggle around in there. So I feel like if you wanted to get out of maybe 31, 32, you could probably get your friend that's maybe low masters and come play with you and probably boost yourself.
See,
I don't think it's be too big of a problem, but it might make it a tad bit faster.
yeah,
Right.
here's my thing with that. I really feel like if a low rank, like say, yeah, boosting is going on, but if a low rank player can reach up high and then either keep playing with that one friend he's playing with and like stay in that rank and not like drop, and maybe if he does decide to just solo and he does well, then they probably do deserve to like stay up there versus like staying like from like low plat or like high gold, never being able to like touch diamond just because they're just solo queuing games with like getting like guards players. And I think it's fair for like people to group up and I guess boost.
I mean, that would be carry more
Well,
of.
yeah.
Yeah, my only beef with when it becomes I'm a diamond player, I stuck in like 31, something like that, but then all of a sudden I'm a masters and I'm 36 now. because that's when you start getting into completely different, just the whole
Yeah.
meta games in general, and
Mhm.
that's when I would assume it would probably become a problem.
Yeah,
But
and I
other
know
than
there's like, yeah,
other
I
than
do
that, I
get
don't.
the negatives though about like saying like having a boosted player like randomly just in your lobbies and they're just able to keep up with every other player that's on your team or on the enemy team.
Mhm.
Like they can't like cooperate. But if they're in a duo and they're able to like do things with that one good player versus other good players, then I'd say it's in a way fair
Mhm.
because on any team, well, and that's the only thing. And I'm not sure if they're going to fix that for like how you were saying that they're balancing the average SR system or like they're pushing like people of SR closer to each other. So like say like if a diamond play with like a gold and their duo and a gold is able to like actually like climb or get carried by the diamond.
Mhm.
If he's like plat or so, then and is able to pull his own weight after being like I guess boosted, I think he deserves to
Yeah.
be plat.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like if he stays around the right number, then it's obviously it's fine. I mean, I don't want to call for like a witch hunt or anything. It's just
Yeah.
I, I actually boosted one person a very long time ago, and he was a school friend of mine, and
Naughty,
um,
naughty.
I know I'm terrible. Um, what happened once was like he has a pretty bad like home situation, and he said that a lot of the games that he loses was because he is disconnected because his parents like disconnect the Wi-Fi at, like
Oh.
whenever they get angry. So I felt bad for him. So he was plat originally or gold, and he basically dropped 500 SR. So I felt bad for him, and I asked him if he wanted to get the SR back, and I could do that for him, and he said yes. So within 2 3 days, I got him back to gold, but then he wanted me to take him all the way to diamond. And I was like, mm, I don't know. You were originally gold. I don't know if I want to do that. That in that if I'm doing that, then that's like hardcore boosting, and I don't want to do that. So
Yeah.
I think that would be in the realm of carrying then instead of just
See, like, so you were on his account, right?
yeah,
See,
yeah,
my
that's
thing is
me.
like well, yeah, that is boosty. You're right. My thing with carrying, I do see it a bit different. I can give an example because I'm a higher ranked player, but I go on Smurf accounts or friends Smurfs, and I play with my lower ranked friends. Max knows. Well, Max has played with me, and like I think my friends, and I know my friends are better players than like what their rank says, and I think they can be able to like beat diamond and so, and that's why I don't mind like playing aside with them. But like I don't just let them like just do whatever. I try to give them tips even when they're like wrong. Like
yeah,
I pointed out, and Max knows.
No,
I've done
very
a
funny,
lot to
very
him.
funny.
Right. And
pew pew.
so with the guy that I boosted, what I did was, okay, I'll get you up to 24.99 or basically one game away from plat, and you have to play the last game. He played the last game and he won, so he got plat fair and square. I was like, all right, cool. And then a couple weeks later, he asked me to take him to diamond. So I was like, I don't know. But then I did it. I got him to 29.99, and then it took him, and I did that for like I did that like in like a day or something. But he played the last game and he lost.
Hmm.
So for a month or two, I kept boosting him back up to 29.99, and he would always lose the last game. And then he would just be like, "Why can't you play last game?" I'm like, "Well, if you keep losing, then you don't deserve it. I'm not, and you've been
Yeah.
doing this consistently." And after a while, I just kind of stopped talking to him because honestly, I think he got SR hungry and he just wanted to get that glowy blue rank,
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
yeah. I feel like unfortunately a lot of players, especially when when they first play competitive and they place and maybe they get silver or gold, they feel like they need to get the other ones, move up to
Mhm.
plat because it makes me look better. I need to move up to diamond because it makes me look better. It,
Right.
I, I
Yeah.
don't
See,
like I don't like the feeling of looking better rather than actually getting better.
Yeah, I would
yeah,
agree.
and
I would agree
I
with that.
actually I've had that same problem because I was from console, and I was just like, dude, I know I'm a master player. I can play with these PC players, but I placed like mid plat, and then I was like, you know what? I want to play with my friends. I actually dropped to gold. And I was like, oh no, this is not good, dude. So I was like, all right, I gotta throw them under the bus, solo queue, and I
Mhm.
just kept playing. And my thing is like,
Yeah,
all right, I don't want someone to like boost my account because I know game sense wise, I'm up there with those players. But right now, my mechanics with mouse and keyboard, I
hmm
gotta get this up. So I did everything possible to just keep like playing. And that's one thing. You don't become an all star overnight. You just gotta keep practicing and keep playing.
Of
yeah,
course.
yeah.
The guy that I boosted, he got diamond on his own. I checked up on him. I haven't talked to him in
Wow,
like a very long time, but I checked up on him like 3 months, like after the last time I boosted him, and he actually got diamond. And I was proud of him. Um,
that's a good resolution.
he did that on his own. So, and that told me he wasn't ready to be a diamond player until 3 months of
Yeah.
practice, until 3 months of improvement.
Mhm.
And I was glad that, he finally got his rank and
Hmm.
he got it in a way which he deserved.
Yeah, that I like that because when I first started the game, I placed platinum, and I was like, whatever. And it, I always kind of played, and 2 seasons later, I said, you know what, I'm actually gonna try and grow. And when I placed like 28, and within like 2 days of playing, I got up to like 33 or 34.
Wow.
Mhm. For me, I started playing season two and I tried to be a Genji main. I thought Genji was so cool at the time. I tried to be a DPS player, but I placed in silver, in low silver, I
Ooh.
think like 1700. And when I first got the game, like all I did was play with my friends, and I would just try to play Genji the entire time, and I sucked at Genji. Not gonna lie.
Dude, I was a Genji main when I started too.
Because Genji was so cool. Everyone thought Genji was awesome.
An 8 second freaking ultimate. Come on now.
Yeah, it's funny. I was edgy, so I purposely told myself not to like Genji because I knew everyone else did. So I tried to be Junkrat, and that didn't work because that was back when Junkrat was kind of iffy.
Even like season three, like I tried to stick with Genji and it just did not work. Um, my Genji win rate in season three was like, let me check right here. It was 39. I had a 39 win rate with Genji in season three, and I
And you
I
know
was really
why?
glad.
I know why. Because it was triple tank
Yeah,
meta
it was
season
triple
three.
tank, and I kept refusing
Oh
to
my
follow meta. I was like, I want to play Genji. Genji's so cool.
Yep,
And
sounds like Shadow.
then I kind of like gave up, and I just kind of played with my friends. And one of my friends was a CS:GO player, and he was really good. So he just played Widowmaker and killed everything. And I basically got carried by him, and I got carried to plat basically. But then after a while, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna start like playing on my own. I tried playing Genji and just lost every single time. So what happened eventually was, all right, Genji's not working out. It's triple tank. No one plays Genji.
god.
It's like I gotta learn one of these heroes. So I was like, what's a necessary hero that everyone like basically has to know how to play?
And
Reinhardt.
at that time, Reinhardt.
Mm.
Oh
Yeah,
my
at the
god.
time
Oh
Reinhardt.
I
yeah,
hated it.
And
I honestly hated it.
that's how I became a Reinhardt main. That's how I became really, really good at Reinhardt. I learned him in season three and I kept with it the entire time. And then season four ish comes around and then I realized, yo, everyone's a Reinhardt main. I can't play Reinhardt anymore. So I'm like, okay, my one tricking isn't working anymore. I gotta learn a different hero. It's like, what's a broken ass hero in season four? I was like, all right, Roadhog. His hook was disgustingly powerful at the time. He had a
Yup.
really, really strong shotgun. It was like when it was super slow, he only had 4 shots, and his hook was super buggy. So I learned Roadhog. I got really, really good at him. Um, let's see. When did the Roadhog nerf come in?
Around like season 5 or 6.
Right. I think like the start of season 5 it came in, right? My brother, I was like, huh, what golden gun should I get? Because it was my second golden gun, and I already got the Genji golden gun, even though I suck at him. So my brother was like, hey, Elliot, you're a really good Roadhog. Why don't you get the Roadhog golden gun? Got it, right? And I was like, that's a good idea. So I got it. The next day, Jeff Goodman comes out with the BattleNet like thing, saying like, oh yeah, we're nerfing Roadhog to the ground. And I was like, why did I get this gun? This was so pointless. And I tried to play in comp because I just wanted to see the golden gun. I just wanted to make it work. It didn't work. It was so bad. So I went back to learning Reinhardt, and I think like that season 5 was when dive started coming in.
I
So
started, yeah.
yeah, I switched from Reinhardt to Winston, and actually that's when I started playing Genji again, and that's when I got good
Mm.
at Genji. And I'm happy to say I'm a pretty decent Genji now. And honestly, that's how I ranked up. I was like, okay, what's the meta? I'm gonna follow the meta. I'm gonna
The
learn characters that are crucial to the meta, and I'm gonna win. And I did. And I was
I took a different approach, Echo. So I absolutely hated Reinhardt Zarya, and I think anyone who knows me knows I hate those two. I hate playing as them, and I hate. I can play now. I can play them. I have respect for those two heroes just because I'm like, damn, you know what? They don't deserve to be on the ground like this right now.
Ooh.
But at like season 1 was a joke. Season 2, I think Diva had just gotten her rework with the Matrix with the charge. I was like, oh snap! Like I thought to myself in my head, I was like, yo, this is OP as shit. So I was like, screw playing Reinhardt Zarya. And so many. I had friends. They're like, oh, if you want to rank up to Diamond, you gotta play Reinhardt or Zarya, dude. Don't play Diva. I was like, you know what? Bet. I forced myself to like. I was like, if I'm gonna be a good diva player, I gotta play her at her worst, at her best, at everything. So I played her when she was like, um, just before she got that super buff. I really don't think she needed that. And I was like eating grabs like crazy. Zarya's thought that they could burn me through. I was like, no, I'm a smart player. And then they buffed Diva, and you already know I just freaking
Mhm.
rolled through that. So I was season 2. I had Diamond on console, and then season 3, I hit Masters with Diva, and then right after that, she got nerfed. So all my friends thought I was gonna like drop hella hard, like straight to like diamond or plat, maybe even gold, because they like people were like, "Oh, you're just a typical meta follower." I'm like, no, I really like and enjoy Diva. And also, actually, right before Diva got the mega buff, I started playing Winston. And I was like, dude, this guy's broken. Like I would just have I had a friend, her name is Carrie, and she was a really good Genji too. She would play Mercy sometimes, and we would just swap around. She she would either play Genji with my Winston, and we would just like run through everything, or like she would play Mercy and just pocket me. And at that time, I was like, yo, just solo res me. I got this, and I just like wiped the floor as Winston. I was like, yo, this guy's good. And then Diva got super buff. Was like, oh, he can't keep up with triple tank.
Yeah, in
But
the
yeah, well, you can go on.
I was gonna say how once people started realizing how strong dive was, especially like not you don't even need the Genji Tracer, you just need the Winston Diva.
Yeah, the
Those
Winston.
guys were
Oh yeah.
suffocating.
Well, no, at that time it was more Winston Zara, but in my head I was like, yo, I really would like to try to run Winston Diva, but my problem is that I main those two heroes, so like
Right.
the other tank player wouldn't be as good as that other tank with me.
Mhm.
And my friend, well, we're not friends anymore. Max knows him. Jaden, he was one of the best Ryans or Zarya's. Like, ever. Well, Amelia was a better Ryan, but Jaden was like crazy Zarya, like God, and we ran Zarya Diva straight through like every single season until like we kind of like split ways. But
Wow.
yeah, and then I swapped to PC, and that's I think when I swapped to PC was right before Diva got the nerf to Matrix, but the Rockets. I was like, oh, is she going to be good anymore? So I just played her anyways because she's she is an easier hero to pick up, and I needed to like get the mechanics in. I already had the game sense. I knew like, oh, fly up here, set up a Mercy up there, or a shot call, Matrix a freaking Genji while he's attacking, or Winston while he's diving their supports.
Mm,
Keeping everyone alive. And then yeah, when I finally swapped the PC, it was I would say it was a little bit of a struggle at first for me.
mhm.
Like
So,
there were so many times I wanted to just plug in the controller.
God.
I never did it though.
so I want to transition into what you were saying about the strength of Winston Diva, and I want to start talking about dive comp and how its strength came to be. Dive comp was created by one of the Korean teams in Apex, I believe, and it just took over everything from I think season 5 and on. It just like
Hmm.
it was just the meta that like you had to play no matter what. And I think season 5 and season 6 was when dive was at its strongest.
Yeah.
So we'll, we can talk about e- all the 6 heroes in right now in the current dive rather than the past dive, because in the past it was Winston Diva, Genji Tracer, Lucio, and Zen. Now, because Mercy has been buffed, it's Mercy Zen. And I think that really made dive a lot weaker. But Mercy is such a must pick right now that you just have
hmm
to deal
Yeah,
with.
but another thing that also ruined Lucio from that spot was his speed boost when he got that rework. And that's why, and you know how I told you I was a Lucio main as well. I didn't throw
Mhm.
that in there when I was playing on console, but um, I didn't play him on PC because he had just gotten reworked. I was like, I don't know if I should play him or not, and that really did hurt Dive because with his aura around him, he wouldn't like with a dive clump. You don't want to be like always clumped together. That's just like no. If you're always clumped, you're going to like die instantly
Of course.
because they're all squishies, and even the tanks, like even with Diva's defense matrix, that can only last so long now. So yeah, with before Lucio's speed was like line of sight, and that was actually like crazy good for freaking dive comp because he would be on like a wall all the way above someone. Winston would be a mile away and just like get like that speed boost, like jump all the way across the map, and those were
Right.
good days.
I mean, like, there's so many things where some characters just felt so overpowered, and it was so fun to play them at the moment. But like, you knew that that had to be nerfed. Like,
Yeah.
especially like the biggest example is like Bastion with his armor. He was insane. Nanoblade
Oh my.
couldn't kill him. A
He
nanoblade can't kill him.
Yeah.
That's
he
insane.
survived
Oh yeah, and
Hanzo ult as well.
yeah,
Right.
I forgot about that. I actually took a break from Overwatch when that happened, but then I came back, and this is that Bastion grew up when Diva got that nerf, and they didn't touch Diva for a while. But I was like, wait a second, Diva's still good because the Matrix was still there, right? So I was like, guys, we can get easy wins. Like my friends were like always bitching, like I hate this Bastion, Bastion, Bastion. I was like, guys, we got this. Watch. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna fly in there. My Matrix is Bastion. You guys just focus on him, and we just kept winning that way. And I guess people didn't realize that you could just throw a diva in his face. Like Bastions became smart and not to shoot reflecting Genjis. Just put a Matrix in the Bastion, and he actually can't do anything.
Right.
Yeah,
And I mean, well, you can continue.
sorry, go.
I was gonna say, I mean, like now with the Junkertown meta, that the pirate ship, that's a
Right.
little more complicated to do with Diva, just because at that back then, Orisa wasn't around for that Bastion Rising.
Hmm.
Um,
Man.
but now with Orisa's like crowd control, I really do think she can control. Um, like dive to a degree, and it just makes things like harder. Uh, I do think Diva is still like good to counter that Bastion on that tail, but we can talk about this later on with the that pick for Junkertown.
Turtles, you were going to say something?
I was gonna say that like during triple tank and everything, when everyone was talking about how Roadhog was overpowered and he needs change, I always said that the one character that needed to be changed was Ana
Mm.
Mm.
Which was definitely
because
true. Her damage was incredible. Her
yeah,
healing was incredible, and they nerfed all of that.
yeah
And they
she
buffed a little bit of it now, but
at the
still,
point at the point I believe she did around the same damage as Zenyatta did with Discord.
she
I don't
she
think it
did
was as much. I
The
think it was obviously less, but I think it was. She could still like 2 or 3 shot squishies with a punch.
surprisingly
Yeah.
Yeah.
she did 10 more damage than McCree if McCree hit a body shot. McCree
Hmm.
did 70 damage with one body shot. Ana, it doesn't matter because Ana could only do body shots
Oh yeah.
with 80 damage.
Hmm.
So Ana could technically kill a McCree and had and basically was a better McCree than McCree was. And Ana was a healer too.
Oh
So
yeah.
that's what made Ana overpowered.
And
So
that's
Ana
also her
punches
healing
nade,
was
right?
like
sorry.
super.
Yeah.
Without her nade, she could still out heal what McCree could do without a headshot.
hmm
Because she
And
also had more shots than him too.
right, and I like how you brought up Ana because another thing that was very overpowered in season 1 and season 2 was her nano boost. Her nano boost was
Oh
insane.
yeah.
That
Oh
speed
yeah.
boost felt so good, but like everyone knew if you nano boosted someone, they aren't gonna die no matter what you
Oh
do.
no.
Yeah.
Oh no.
They're
The
incredibly
Reinhardt nano boost was good. The Reaper, I counted the Reaper again with Diva's defense matrix.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Beyblade
That.
Meta was definitely there. Nano
Yeah,
Rhine was definitely there. Nano Blade. All those were just so overpowered, and it was just like you
Hmm.
just lose a team fight. There's nothing you could do about it.
Yeah,
it was
I
pretty much
always.
like whoever could build up nano first at that time,
Right.
and
Yeah.
then
I
having a
always thought.
Lucio with the extra speed. Oh god.
Yeah, which is insane. Anyways, let's get back to Dive and Resistance. I want you to help me here. We're gonna talk about the roles of Dive. So I'm going to begin with Winston first. And what Winston does is he initiates the fight, and that's what most tanks should do, at least the main tank. If you're Reinhardt or if you're Winston, you are initiating the fight, and you're telling your team, we're going to engage, we're going to take this fight, or we're going to play passive. We're not going to take the fight until we have an advantage, and then we'll go in. So for Winston, his goal is to dive the enemy and to split them up and basically and to make them more disorganized than your team.
Hmm.
Or that's what I find Winston is. And what I used to do a
Yeah.
lot with Winston is I would dive straight in the middle of the team, drop bubble, and what would happen is I'd split up the supports from the tanks and the DPS. And the DPS and tanks would want to dive. But if their dive wasn't as good as ours, I could just zap just the supports all on my own as Winston. And sometimes like my entire team didn't even have to dive. I could just be the only one diving because the supports were split up and I could kill them on my own. And my entire team could just peel and just keep everyone alive. Because at that point, it'd be a 5v4 with my entire team of five just helping each other, and then the two DPS and two tanks of the enemy dive, trying to kill them, while I'm alone against two healers and I kill both of them. So that was when dive was at its strongest. But now because of Mercy, it's I can't do that as Winston anymore. But I still do jump in and try to split them up and try to make it super disorganized. Resistance, can you talk about Diva now and what her role is in the current meta?
Yeah, so like as you were saying with like jumping in, Diva right now, I feel like she has that much damage, so you should be diving in and coordinating with your DPS players because she has enough damage. If she's put with just the Genji as well, she can easily just kill like one squishy immediately, which I've done with Devi against like supports, even with like a healing from Mercy. Um, Another thing is protecting and really defense matrix management as well because if you like run out of that, although they did buff the recharge time, that's kind of like a waste. You want to like use Matrix at like the right time. So like say like we've done it before, Echo, where we as both tanks. Oh, I feel like it's a little bit iffy to do sometimes, but if your whole team's with you, then it's completely fine. So like say like a Winston jumps in instead of like you know how like a Zarya would give like a Winston bubble sometimes or like a Reinhardt a bubble to charge in, just
Mhm.
like fly him with the Winston, matrix him, and then let him use his bubble to like damage up. And then while he's using the bubble, just recharge the matrix and then just like kill everything else. One thing I do as Diva is like try to like have a balance between like being aggressive diver and also being like a super strong defender. So like
Mhm.
on defense, I would try to play more on the objective as Diva, but without getting like crushed by like a close quarter tanks or like DPS players like Reinhardt Zarya. You don't actually really want to stay on the same level as them as Diva. You want to like exploit high ground, which is what I love to do a lot as Diva.
Right.
Um, and also if someone dives like your support, you want to just like snap whatever you're doing and then just like flick. Don't like hold matrix out on them. Like say like it's a tracer, you don't need to hold matrix on the tracer unless you know she's casting like a pulse bomb. um One thing like I know everyone notices like about me is that like I'm able to eat like a lot of like ults, or like able I'm able to like read ultimates and then say that I'll attempt it, like eat them, or like do this if I can't eat it. And that's what I think is strong about Diva, is that her power to like still as a just the ability to like deny ultimates. I feel like people don't consider that as a factor with like versus like Mercy's 1.0 huge res, where she would be able to like counter like what six ults if a team didn't kill one Mercy, where
Very
like
much.
Diva can just like click for 1 second and she can eat as much damage as she wants.
Yeah. Hmm.
All right, so
But
that's Winston Diva.
yeah,
Is there anything else you want to add, or is that good?
one thing. So with the mercy meta, you do want to kill like it's whoever's mercy dies first at this point, or whoever can outkill the floor faster. So it's just like a frag out meta right now, and who can do it like the fastest. So that's why dive is still around, because the 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 heroes of dive are like quick and they have that damage like Tracer or Diva, and even so like Genji. But I actually think Genji's falling off a bit. It's same with Winston, because Winston's can't what you call it, like absorb or tank too much damage like a Reinhardt or an Orisa or a Diva can tank up, or even a Hog, because Hog has the damage resistance with his health his self heal.
Mhm. Um, yeah, I agree 100% with what you're saying. The thing about dive is you're for let's say death ball. Death ball, you're getting let's say like a soldier, you're getting a Genji, and you have Reinhardt, Zarya, and then you have like Ana and like a Lucio, right? That's a very very brawly comp. That you want. That's a comp that's really up in your face, and Reinhardt Zarya synergizes really well because Reinhardt can feed a lot while trying to do damage, and then he gets protected by the bubble, and then Zarya in turn will get charged, and she can carry out the the end of the fight. Because
Yeah,
usually
she can
deathball
clean up.
fights last way longer than dive. When dive was at its strongest, the fights will last 5 seconds or so, and that means Diva could probably matrix more than half of the damage that goes through in an entire team fight. Dive comp, what it does is you're getting rid of all the damage. You're getting rid of all the brawliness, and
And
you're
you're also
going with just
dodging a lot of the damage
yeah,
too.
yeah. What dive comp is just straight up mobility. It's the fastest heroes in the game. You're just trying to dodge as much damage as possible and try to burst down and do as much damage as possible. and then get out with your mobility abilities. Basically, it's
Yeah.
hard to say. Um, but that's the core principle of dive comp, and that's why Zen, who's not a very who's not considered mobile at all, that's why he's necessary because his Discord provides extra damage. He's that extra punching power that everyone needs. So I'm gonna start talking about Zenyatta, and although I don't main Zenyatta, I do know the principles of dive comp, and that's why I'm gonna talk about this. Zenyatta, he's not a mobile hero at all, but his Discord does 30% more damage. So that means it'll be way easier for a tracer to one clip the enemy's end. It'll be way easier for the entire team to burst down the enemy Winston and stuff like that. That's why he's needed. And he is the strongest piece and he is the most important piece of dive comp, but he's also the weakest link because he's not mobile, because he's such a diveable hero. That's what makes him super weak. And that's why Diva's defense matrix when it was 3 seconds long, that it was so strong because Zen could just stay alive for 3 seconds, could discord someone, and everyone would be bursted down before the matrix runs out.
Wow.
Yeah, and also he has the power to frag out a
Yeah, on his own.
tracer on his own.
Yeah, he can get the opening pick with his right click as well,
Right, of course. Like you see pro
if you're
players
not
like
expecting it.
you see pro players like Sleepy or Boombox. They are so
Yeah.
good at figuring that out, and they do. And sometimes it's not the main tanks that initiate the team fight. Sometimes it's the Zenyatas. Sometimes the Zenyatas like just get a pick from out of nowhere, and then everyone's like, okay, so 5v6, we're going in. We're just going all in, and it works out because the Zenyatta player just got that 5v6 pick for them.
Yeah,
Um,
and this actually leading to like that pick off and that initiation you were talking about is why Mercy's like so like a pain for dive comp because they want to be fast and like be able to like get on with one pick they get and then just move on to the next. But Mercy's able to just res up that one target that like sometimes people have problems with, like such as like a Widowmaker who's now rising up or what do you call it, a Bastion on the cart.
mhm. So let's talk about old dive comp first with the Lucio, and I'm gonna talk about why that was so strong at the time, and then I'm gonna switch over and talk about why the meta shifted to Mercy and why they've taken Lucio out instead of Zenyatta for that support role.
Hmm.
So for Lucio, his strength was was getting Zen out. He was the guy that would peel for Zen. Let's say there was a Tracer or a Genji on the Zen trying to dive him. Lucio could just come in, boop the Tracer or Genji away, and then he could speed the Zen out or heal the Zen. That's why it was strong. Or Lucio could basically stall out the fight long enough so the tanks could come back and protect the Zen. That's why Lucio was good. Lucio could also speed the tanks and the DPS if they want to do a hyper aggressive, just like an instant like all in type of dive, you know? So that was kind of Lucio's job. And one of the best things about Divecom is because you have Lucio Zen, that means you have two defensive ults. That means if you're going to use those ults, you can stall out a lot of time, which is really important because Divecom, those team fights usually last 5 seconds. If you use Lucio ult or if you use Zen ult, you're making it last an extra 6 seconds or so.
Yeah,
Meaning,
and those two support ults are like the best defensive ults in the game. Sound Barrier
right,
and Transcendence.
right, and with that, basically you have an extra 6 seconds to kill the rest of the enemy team,
Yeah.
which was why dive comp at the time was so powerful, and the support ults were the strongest in the game at the time. Um, so now let's switch over to Mercy. Um, I'm pretty sure everyone knows why Mercy is the basically the best hero to play right now.
Yeah.
Um, honestly, because Mercy can res anyone at it's insane. Like I'm like her I'm so lost for words when the devs like tried to create this new Mercy that could res every 30 seconds, and her Valkyrie is insane. Like when she was at her most broken, she could, res 2, and she would have 20 seconds of just infinite flight. She could glide anywhere she wanted. Um, she could she could touch the skybox, and hit scans like Soldier and McCree can't kill her because she's way too far,
Plus
which
her
is super
self
frustrating.
healing.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
she
and then
has
she
self
still
heal.
had that range to heal as well. It was like, what the heck?
Yeah, and she has the self heal, and her healing does 120 healing per second, whereas her normal healing only does 60, which is basically Winston's DPS. Winston only does 60 damage per second, so if Winston was trying to kill a Zen and the Mercy was pocketing him, he'd basically just stay at the same health, pretty much. So I'm
Yeah.
kind of getting off like task here, but what I did as Winston was if that ever happened, I would try to sneak in a couple melees, and he would get a little weaker every time. And
Mhm.
I'd only do this if like the Zen was already pretty weak. If it was full health, I would just run away. But
Yeah, because Zen's able to like burst you down
yeah,
while
but
staying
any
alive.
yeah, but that was that's why Mercy was so strong because her healing goes from 60 to 120. That's like having two Mercies that without Valk, which is insane. And she could heal the entire team. She could damage with the entire team if they're in close proximity with each other. And at this point, it's kind of just like, oh, Mercy has Valk. All right, we got to give up the team fight. Don't use ults, guys. That's kind of how it feels sometimes, which
Yeah.
is which is incredibly frustrating.
Yeah.
And and in Resistance, you and I were talking about this earlier, but the only way to kill a Valk is to commit like so hard on the
Like,
Mercy, and sometimes it doesn't
yeah,
work.
Hmm.
and like that's yeah, we did talk about that. Like how it's the fact that a grab has so much value of just getting a solo grab on a Valking Mercy. Like that's kind of like, wow, really? You have to like do that in order to like counter that whole entire ultimate. I mean, you don't need to grab it, but like if you do have a grab, and most Zaryas now, I see like they have grab and they know the Mercy's Valking, they'll try to capture that Mercy so that they can just get that kill
Right, the
in, which is
playstyle
good.
changed because of Mercy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I used to when especially when Junkrat first got buffed, you'd see like 3 or 4 Ks because he could just drop it onto people, especially when the tire got sped up and it was all broken. But now I just anytime I have ult, I ult and then look for the Mercy
Right, and
because
that
I
kind of
can chase her too, and that's like an entire ult just because of one that might have ult.
See, and this is where it's funny. People are doing what they should have been doing when Mercy had the huge res.
Yeah,
People are finally actually trying to look for the Mercy and capture her and kill her when they should have been doing this before. And I mean, higher ranked players already knew that. I mean, you still did see some like high ranked Mercy players that were good. Like I guess they knew how to escape and like hop in, hop out with the fight, and were able to pull off either a tempo res, as people call it, or a huge res, even time and times. But then the lower ranks, it's like they don't they don't know how to coordinate to kill a Mercy, and that's what I think. If you can't coordinate to kill one person who you know has the ult to like stop like 3 of your ults if you use that many, then you deserve to lose the game.
Huh.
yeah.
my
Um,
my
you can go ahead.
sorry.
It's okay.
My only problem with it was that you could use it behind walls, and it's not it's not that big a deal or whatever. But everything else in the game at the time was line of sight, line of sight, line of sight.
Right.
But then you had Mercy that was I can be behind this wall or under this building, and I just push Q and they're all back up.
Yeah, that was a huge thing in Watchpoint Gibraltar.
Yeah,
If you're
and then they
defending and you were Mercy and you were in spawn and you had res, let's say like everyone's stalling last point, right? And it's basically 1 meter away, and let's say almost like 4 people died and one person is stalling, the tracer, right? And you're a Mercy and you just spawned and you have res. You could res 4 people, you're inside a spawn, so the enemy can't kill you, but you could res your entire team.
Yeah,
Mhm. They
That
actually
was
finally did nerf that, so basically you couldn't she couldn't use res inside a spawn room.
Yeah.
right.
yeah, it
which
was
which was very, very well needed,
Oh yeah.
much needed. Um, so now we're going to talk about why Lucio was switched out instead of Zen. So, as I said before, Zen was the core part about dive comp. Because of Zen's Discord was basically the only thing that made dive comp possible. Because without Zenyatta, they would have no damage and they can't kill a death ball because they don't have the damage to do that. Meanwhile, the death ball has the fragging power to just decimate the entire dive. Right? That's why you need the Zenyatta. Even though he doesn't give that much healing, that doesn't matter. His Discord is what makes the team fight so fast. And that's why he had to stay instead of Lucio, because Lucio provided assistance to the Zen, and that's all Lucio kind of did. He kind of just assisted everyone with making the fights faster, making people harder to hit. Zenyatta was the fragging power for everyone, and that's why he was important. That's why Mercy was switched with Lucio. And although Mercy can't peel as well as a Lucio, her res is just way too strong.
Yeah,
Yeah.
'cause instead of like speeding a Zenyatta to like get somewhere, just get a frag. If the Zenyatta dies, fly back to him, get a little bit of protection, res him back up, and then you're fine again.
Right.
Yeah, and like you mentioned earlier with Winston versus Zen, like if Zen's hitting his shots, he can't Zen can fend himself. His problem is sustain. He can't be in that
Yeah.
fight for very long. And then when Mercy comes in, she can just fly in, tickle him with the heel a little bit, and then Winston's pretty much dead anyway, because he's like like you also mentioned earlier, the health gained is also roughly equal to the same that you lost. So you can just stay in the fight and punch him in the face, and then like that's couldn't really do that with Lucio. Like you could escape, but then if something went wrong and Zenyatta couldn't get out, he it was kind of screwed, and then you had to start the whole fight over again. But with Mercy, you can just tickle him, and if he dies, just res him again.
Right. Um. So now moving to the last two heroes of DiveComp, we have Tracer and Genji, and I actually play quite a lot of both of them. Um. So I'll start off with Tracer. What Tracer does is harass, and she harasses the supports mostly, or the DPS, and that's her strong suit because Tracer has the highest mobility in the entire game. Um, and in the old meta, she was considered in the old dive meta, she was considered broken, like not 100% broken like Bastion, but basically on the verge of broken because there is no counter to her except if you get lucky with a McCree or
Or a hook.
right.
Yeah,
And
And at
those
that time, they actually nerfed the hook, so it was just like it just buffed Tracer.
right. And with flashbang, it's not always consistent. And it zones the tracer out, but she could still harass as much as so freely, and that's what made her so strong. Um,
and also with her potential damage output.
right, because she does quite a lot of damage close range. Because her shots are kind of like a shotgun. Um, they do a lot more damage close range than they do far. So Divecom was weak against Far Mercy, but because of just how good Dive was at killing everything else and then finishing off the Far Mercy last, Far Mercy was just not a viable counter to her.
Yeah, it was just like just wipe the floor fast enough so that it's just a fair and mercy in the sky. And then just send the diva, Winston to jump, and then like Tracer if she could get sort of on the level where she can actually damage them. And I've seen Tracers do it before. She can like kill them,
Right.
and that's
So
just proves why like mobility is like super strong now and even back then.
yeah, I mean with Tracer, it's kill everything before you die, and you just want to stay alive as long as possible. And you see this in stalls, you see this in just all the time. Like Tracer literally cannot die half the time. Um,
Yeah, and one thing with Tracer, and I know that although I don't main her, I know she really is mechanics, but she's also game sense because you have to be able to like time uh cooldowns that can like stop you. So like a flashbang or a hook or
Right.
like a Diva's matrix so that you can like just pounce in on the support and be able to kill them without like a Diva trying to like snap back and then just like matrix all your shots nullifying you pretty much. Which is what I try to do as Diva. I try to nullify DPS players
Hmm.
like a Tracer or Genji or Pharah.
Yeah, I always felt with Tracer, if it was if the if the skill level was equal, Tracer would usually come out on top, just because of the fact that she can come in and out so quickly.
Right.
Because no, like you said with the flashbang, no matter how good you are at landing a flashbang, you will always time it wrong at some point, and she can always just come back and hit you. And if you
Right.
don't
It's
hit
not
that one
sustained.
juicy headshot, you it's kind of over. And it's kind of the same thing with Zen, because like in I think it was season 5, I don't know, but I played a lot of Zen, and Tracer, she wasn't too big of a problem because normally, like once you kill them once, they're a little scared of you. But
Hmm.
that's pretty much all it was. Is I'd get one lucky kill, and that's pretty much all that happened all game. Because
Right.
even with Discord, it's still 2 shots on this tiny little pixel that's on your screen.
Right. Yeah, and her hitbox is very tiny, which makes it really
Oh
hard to
yeah,
hit.
it's actually
Um,
I believe it's smaller than Ana's, and
right. So Tracer does a lot of the harassing, rather than getting those like kills and all that. That's actually Genji's job because Genji has dash. Like for dive comp, like all he has to do is pretty much dash the person that's low, and he'll get another dash back, and he'll just keep doing that over and over again.
Yeah, he
That's what
does
made
like
an old
uh
dive comp. That's what made him so strong, because basically, let's say even without Discord, Winston could jump on the jump. Like let's say a 200 health character, Winston will jump. He would do the melee jump combo, which is
yeah.
basically the second before you land, you melee, and the jump will cancel the animation for the melee. So basically, that's 70 damage already, because Winston jump does 40 damage, and the punch does 30. So that's 70 damage. Then you have Diva, who can just dash in. She could shoot rockets. She could also just shoot her primary fire, right? And then at that point, that the 200 health character could just die with just those two, right? But let's say he doesn't die, then then like Tracer could have harassed, or Tracer could have killed her. And in case that didn't happen, Genji could just dash her, and then that character would die, and then Genji would have another reset, and they would just go on and on and on.
yeah,
And that's basically all Genji had to do. He was just that follow up, and that's still what Genji is now. He's still that follow up hero that follows up on the damage, and he kind of cinches the deal. In a That's one way to put it. Um,
I go ahead, sorry.
no, you can go ahead.
I always saw him as a oh damn, I forgot what I was gonna say. Sorry.
It's okay.
Hmm.
Um, I'll keep going on, but so Genji, he's kind of like the person that gets the kills, that not necessarily does the damage. Genji doesn't have to have that gold
Yeah,
damage,
he cleans up pretty much.
right? Because Winston could honestly have gold damage, because Winston's primary fire could hit multiple targets at the same time and does 60 damage per second.
Yeah, and it
So,
also goes through like defense matrix and barriers.
right, and his jump also does area damage.
Yeah.
And if you're
And if
doing
he's landing in the punches, yeah.
that's just so much damage that Winston could do on his own. So Winston could honestly have gold damage, and Genji could maybe have no damage metal at all, and that would be fine, because that's how dive comp worked. Genji didn't need to do all the damage; he would just clean up, and Tracer would probably have silver or gold damage, because she would be the person that would get those people low, along with the Winston, along with the Diva. Even though Diva would probably peel more, so I would say that Tracer would probably have that silver damage, or the gold even. Um, Another strong thing about Genji that Tracer really can't do, for the most part, Genji's Dragon Blades. usually you can get 2 to 3 kills off that. Pulse bomb, most likely you'll get one, but if you're lucky, you can get multiple targets because there is no Zarya to help you, and the enemy team, if they're playing dive, they're gonna play pretty split up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It just pulse bomb just reminds me of last night with Aura. There was this tracer who got like this insane like 5-man tracer bomb. I was like, how the hell? And mind you, they were playing dive comp on the enemy team, so I was just like in shock. I was like, how did this many people? And that won us the game. We would have lost too. I was like, how did this many people die to one tracer bomb? They're all mobile.
Right.
Like it had to be like pure luck where like nobody had like dash or like flight or like jump or blinks. I was like, that was just too crazy, honestly.
Right. Resistance, remember our game on Kings Row when I was playing Tracer?
Oh yeah, oh my god.
So yeah, that too, that's lucky. But I was playing Tracer, and what happened was we were about to lose first point on overtime, and it was kind of like a feels bad. We held them for 4 minutes, and we're going to lose. We're going to lose
Oh,
first point.
lose the point, yeah.
But I was playing Tracer, and I had pulse bomb, so I snuck in, and basically the entire enemy team was standing still. So I one clip the Tracer, and I stick a pulse bomb on the enemy Reinhardt, and I killed three. So with the bomb. So I was like, everyone go and go, 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 go. And then
Yeah.
our entire team was like running like back. Like we were like, oh, we
Well,
lost
yeah,
one. We're
like
running
I
back.
no, I was like standing like right near, I don't know what to call it, but like the
The
entrance
gate.
where you, yeah, the gates. And I was just like, all right, if he can pull this pulse bomb off, I'll just fly straight in. But if he doesn't, then I'll just escape and maybe try to help him out escape too, like because he was out deep. And I was like, oh no way. As soon as I saw like the kill feed, I was like, everyone go. I just like flew in. We focused this McCree. McCree still somehow busted my mech, which was just like kind of crazy. I guess they had the Zen or whatever. Or maybe was there Ana? I'm not sure, but
There was an Ana that pocketed him.
yeah, so I was like, oh crap. And then I finally killed Echo, and I killed him like as soon as I got out of mech. But then our team came in and we're like, all right, easy wipe, easy clean,
Yeah,
easy game.
and yeah, we basically held first point like that. But something like that, that's lucky. That's not normally something Tracer would do. Tracer could probably get a pulse bomb on the Zen or the Mercy, and by doing that, you basically delay the team an entire t- like 10, 15 seconds, and that's like really precious time. And what I do as Tracer sometimes, it's like I don't really, I'm not always in the team fight. Sometimes I'm spawn camping the Mercy or the Zen, honestly, because if you do that, like you're not gonna notice the Tracer's presence when it goes away. But the Zenyatta or the Mercy, that's like something that you really, really need. And if the Tracer is spawn camping the healer, then basically the team with that Tracer should be winning because they have two heals. They should be able to do
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
All right.
But
So I think
that's why Mercy's strong too, because if a Tracer doesn't pulse bomb a Mercy and say like it's just a Zen, Mercy could just res that one target.
right, which makes it really, really difficult for Tracer because the only few people that Tracer could probably kill by herself is either the Zen or the Mercy. And if Mercy is just flying away all the time, then that kind of makes it hard for Tracer, and the only person she could kill is Zen. And like if she is the Tracer, let's say the Tracer commits all the way, uses all her resources, her ultimate even, to try to kill Zen. Mercy can res him right back, and that's like the most annoying part as a DPS player, is getting that pick that that everyone really really needed, and then having it resed right back. That's probably one
Yeah,
of the most frustrating things currently in the game right now.
I
Um,
agree.
so I think we've talked enough about dive comp. So let's talk about some of the heroes that aren't part of dive, and let's talk about their strength in the current meta right now. So,
Hmm.
for instance, Reinhardt is a good one. Reinhardt, Zarya. Um, Resistance, what do you think about their that duo in the current patch right now?
Their duo, I'd say, in the current, you have to play like you and your brother to like, I would say, to like really pull it off. I do think and if you can play that what you call it, I would say the crowd control with them. So like saying like have a, well, I wouldn't run a hog with it, but like a McCree with the Ryan Zarya, the like flashbang, like any like tracers or whatever. And I really do feel like Lucio is needed for Reinhardt and Zarya just because like they're death balling and they're just kind of like slow-ish. But like you said before, like Zen's Discord is just like really powerful and helps kill the floor faster, and then Mercy's just like a must pick.
Hmm.
So that's the only reason why I think they're still a little bit on the downside, but they can be run, and I know you've proven it, and I know other Zaras have proven it because it's easy to get well, not easy, but you can get charged now, especially since spam is like growing in
Right, with
as a
Junkrat
comp to run.
being
Yeah,
buffed.
with Junkrat and Orisa. Even I would say like Diva to a degree is sort of like spam with the rockets and just like flying and
Right.
shooting while flying.
Even Moira, which is really frustrating
Hmm.
because most people have a lot of OCD and they want to have that 200 health, but because of Moira, you could lose like up to 50 health or something like that just because the orb just passes by real quick. And it's really
Yeah,
frustrating, and like sometimes it just kind of makes people, I don't want to fight this. I want to get health first. I want to be with my team or something like that, and it discourages a lot of flankers.
yeah,
So
and yeah, about Mora, just real quick, she is really annoying to dive. Like
yeah,
you have to make sure you time like okay, she just faded out just now. Now we gotta
Yeah.
dive her. But then on top of that, it's like her orb, her healing orb, so it has high burst heals. And then say like you're trying to kill like I've seen like people do like the Mercy Mora. It's ridiculous how much burst heals are going back and forth
Yeah.
with each other.
and it's hard to dive because Mercy could fly around, Moira could just uh
Fade out.
excuse me, yeah, she could fade away. Um and I guess that's a really good transition. Let's talk about Moira now and her kind of
Ooh.
situation in the meta. What do you let's start with Turtles this time. Turtles, what do you think about Moira in the current meta right now?
Um, I haven't really played with meta because not every time I pick Moira, people are take me as a joke, so they play other stuff. But I feel like with the like Mercy Zen thing, I don't think she's gonna contest Zen very strongly on in most occasions because his damage isn't in or his utility isn't in the fact that he does the damage. It's in the fact that he can help cause the damage.
Mm,
Whereas Moira, she has to have she has to be doing the damage, even though her orbs go out there and do it. It doesn't turn 80 damage into 100 damage. It turns
right.
like 80 damage into like 90, and it's an overtime thing. As whereas Zen is a more of a burst damage. But I do feel
Yeah.
like, if especially on like a defensive map, or maybe like Temple of Anubis or something, or Volskaya, I feel like she might shine over him just because of her burst healing and the fact that like either if you're holding up in the front right or left rooms, you can just throw a healing orb or a damage orb and you just can't avoid it.
Right.
And especially if it's an uncoordinated dive, there's no way one DPS can actually out damage her heal and her healing orb, or outburst her damage and her damage orb. So I feel like she'll have a niche, but I don't think she's gonna take over the meta.
Mm.
Right.
Uh,
Uh,
one strategy I did see a Dallas Fuel of run was this sort of like I call it like the evaporation like team comp.
Hmm.
So they had Sombra, Mora, I think maybe Lucio, um and I think a Winston and Diva with it, or maybe some other tanks.
they had a
But really,
Roadhog, I'm pretty sure.
but they were pretty much like really just like fade out. So like they would look like they're all clump, and like the enemy team would it was this like there's this clip. I don't know if I can find it right now,
I
but
think
like
it was on Ilios,
yeah, it
right?
was on Ilios.
And
Yeah,
the enemy Genji
yeah,
used Dragon Blade and saw the entire team of Dallas Fuel in a small hallway. So he uses Dragon Blade,
exactly.
but then they all vanish. The Roadhog, he just vapes and walks away. The diva just flies away. The
it was
Mercy flies with her. Sombra just
no, they didn't run a Mercy. I don't think they ran a
I
Mercy,
thought Chips was
Dallasio.
Mercy. Maybe not.
No, they
Um,
had a Mora. I know they had Sombra and Mora. I maybe they had Lucio, but I don't think they were running Mercy. I know the enemy team was running Mercy on that.
well, if it was Lucio, Lucio could just run
Like
away
speed,
easily.
yeah, and
Yeah.
that was like that was the craziest thing too. They like completely baited out that one ult just by like making it seem and like how they were just able to just like split
That they were
apart that
trapping
fast.
themselves.
Yeah, and I really like that style of play, and I really think that composition may grow if like Mercy dies out because they were able to kill off like they would just like pretty much like evaporate from like enemy high damage or like their ultimates and then just like quickly get back in there and just like kill people and it's pretty much dive comp just with like the other heroes and people who can like survive more or get away like quickly.
Mm.
Yeah, I could see that happening, but obviously only on defense. 'Cause I don't think you could push with that. It'd be kind of funny to see, just pushing through a choke, and all of a sudden, as soon as they repush you, you just disappear.
I think that's something that will only work on Koth because it's going to
Hmm.
be really hard to engage because you don't really have that damage. Um, and defending, let's say like a payload map, or even like 2CP, if your plan is to run away, that means you're giving up a lot of space.
Yeah,
Oh
no,
yeah,
I don't think that will work too much on defense. Maybe offense. I can see it working on offense just because you do have that Sombra. She's always been, I would say she was a hidden gem in like the past like few seasons, just not last season or this season right now, just because like even though like a hack on a Mercy is like super useful, it's just kind of hard to like push in with like I would say it is hard to push in with the EMP because like a Mercy could just stay back, stay out of the line of sight, then come back in with like a Valk or whatever.
Right. And I also think in higher tier um, ranks or even the Overwatch League, Zenyatta's have learned to read Sombra EMP and they've learned
oh
to
yeah,
use trans right before
Right
the
before,
EMP. And I
yeah.
think that's very, very impressive. And that kind of shows how everyone has been improving slowly in like the
Hmm.
things that they do, in the things that they do.
oh yeah.
Um,
That might be another thing that Moira might outshadow, or it could become or outshadow. Dang it, Zenyatta is maybe if Sombra is being too much of a problem, you could always just switch to a Moira because she could fill a similar role. But
right.
like you said, it's not too hard to
To
um,
beat out that
the
Sombra.
EMP. Yeah,
Yeah, Moira
but
really does like discourage a lot of the flankers, and
mm,
it makes it really hard to play Genji and Tracer against Moira because she could just keep healing herself
oh yeah,
through the damage, and it could definitely be the same with Sombra as well. Because if Sombra's trying to harass in the back, all Moira has to do is heal herself, and uh, Sombra might not even be able to get that much damage on herself to charge her own EMP because she
hmm,
literally just can't kill anything anyways.
yeah.
And
Because
yeah.
I believe at mid range they do about probably the same, nearly the same damage. So
Mhm.
it's kind of a tie, and Moira's ult charges so quickly that it's even more expendable than an EMP. So
Yeah.
if you're giving, because technically you would kind of be giving Moira ult as well as getting your own ult. You're giving her ult so that she can help someone else with it. So it's also kind of, I believe she can do she's a counter to harassment rather
Mhm.
than like a counter to death, as in like, or not death, sorry, um, sustain. Because like she can't really burst anything down, so she won't be able to really help with fighting a death ball like with Zin can. But when you're talking about holding and maybe dealing with a tracer, you can use the Moira as kind of like a little meat shield to deter her.
Mhm.
Same thing with Genji, because they just
Another
both want to poke, and you can't really poke with Moira.
right. Another thing about Moira is usually in dive comp you target the healers first, but not with Moira.
Mm-hmm.
With when it's Moira, she's most likely the last person to die. And in the old dive comp, what it used to be is Tracer would probably die last, or probably a tank that died last. But you would always target Zen first, then maybe the Genji or the Lucio, and then the Winston, and then Diva and the Tracer, maybe. That's like a kind of like a general structure of how it usually goes. But sometimes if it's Moira, then you really can't target the healers first. You could maybe kill the first healer that isn't Moira, but then Moira's probably going to be the last one to die in the entire fight because she can just back out so easily. She
Mm-hmm.
could heal herself so easily, and and unless you commit very, very heavily, you can't really kill her.
Yeah, and even with if you're targeting, if it's Zen Moira or Lucio Moira or Ana, Moira can just tank the other healer as well because she has quite a high heal rate, and she can just spray onto the other character. And if you're focusing on that one, then she can just spray freely. And if you're focusing on her, then she can just dart away and then come back with heals.
Hmm. Well, so that was Moira. Max, how are we doing on time?
I think we're doing pretty good though.
How much time have we gone?
I
How
don't know.
much have
I
we
I, I
finished?
didn't watch what time we started.
I feel like
Oh no,
we've done
there it
about
is.
an
Yeah, an hour and 16 minutes. There we go.
okay, so that's all the time we had for today. Resistance, Turtles, and Max, thank you so much for being part of the podcast. Um, so I want to talk a little bit about Atreo, kind of giving it a self promo, I guess. But Atreo is an Overwatch Discord that that hosts a bunch of teams. I'm I'm one of them. I'm part of uh one of the teams on Atreo. Team Hostile. Resistance is also part of a team. I'm not sure if Max and
No.
Turtles are. No. Okay. Um, but that's kind of what Atreo is. We host a lot of teams. We do tournaments. And then it's also a really good place to find scrims because every there are a lot of teams which are very active. I think in the last tournament there were about 7 teams that participated,
Mm-hmm.
um, but that but that was only a few of them because some teams were participating in the open division. Um, so yeah, uh, what Atrio does, yeah, we do tournaments. It's a good place to find scrims on the other teammates and players. We do coaching uh, as well as pickup games, and it's just I find it to be a very lovely community. So if you would like to join, find us on Discord.
In the description.
So yeah, yes, in the description. Um, I guess
Follow
I'll
us
end
on
with
YouTube and Twitch as well.
mhm. um, I want to end with what we're going to do in the next podcast. Um, I have a couple questions concerning Junkrat and the spam meta because Roadhog has gotten stronger as well as Junkrat, and uh, those could definitely be used to create a team comp that could completely counter dive because Junkrat can counter Tracer and Genji and characters like that. So we'll probably be talking about heroes like Junkrat in the next podcast and be talking
That's my
about
specialty.
spam comp
Mhm.
and a little bit more about Death Ball and kind of countering dive comp, I guess. Um, so yeah, thank you for listening to the podcast, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Wow,
Alright,
Uh,
that was pretty
that
good.
was good.
that's good. I
All
guess
right, now
we
let's
did it.
rate casting.
Thanks. This is my first time trying something like this. I hope it
Same.
was good.